Hi, this is Ted at Windy Hill Farm. Welcome to our first series of videos on basic horsemanship. What we're going to do today is we're going to demonstrate a lot of the horsemanship techniques that's necessary to start your horsemanship journey and kind of obtain the proper etiquette to do things properly. This is my horse, Petey. He's going to be our demonstration model today. He's my friend. He's been with me a long time, old Petey has, and we're going to use him as our model today. But what I wanted to talk to you about is, first of all, before we start these videos, it's important that you understand why we're doing what we're doing. And a lot of what we're doing is just basic preparing your horse to be ridden and establishing leadership with your horse and gaining trust and obedience with him, not through force, but through obtaining his trust, and learning to be courteous and polite with your horse. Where, you know, the one thing you've got to remember that your horse will never be polite unless you're first polite. And it works in that order. You cannot expect him to extend politeness to you until you're first polite. Words of wisdom, you know, I just want to tell everybody here that the same thing I tell everybody that works here and everybody that I work with. Our goal here is not to obtain perfection. Our goal is to obtain excellence. Let's strive for excellence, not perfection, because I think if we strive for perfection, there's a road that doesn't end. I don't think we'll ever get there. There's no such thing as a perfect horse. There's no such thing as a perfect rider, but there's lots of excellent ones. And I think that's my personal goal, is not to discourage myself to continuously only want to be perfect about everything. Let's just try to be excellent. And if we can get that accomplished, we'll go and do big things in horsemanship and have an enjoyable journey along the way. Now, here at Windy Hill Farm, we've been at this a long time, and we've done it all different ways. And if you talk to 50 different people, they'll tell you 50 different ways to do all these things. There's many, many ways to do the same thing, and I'm not going to try to tell you that I have all the answers. I'm going to show you what works for us. We ship horses all over America. They work for the people. Folks get along with them. But the key ingredient there is that we eliminate confusion, and we are very consistent with our horses. That everybody that works here, everybody that handles our horses, we do things the same way. We approach horsemanship in a workmanlike fashion. We're not worried about ribbons and earnings, and we're not worried about showing horses as much as we are. We want to approach horsemanship in a workmanlike fashion, like a cavalry soldier would have 150 years ago. You know, a cavalry soldier, he would be called on several things to do in a different things in a day's time. You know, that horse might have to pull a wagon, an ambulance. He might have to be ridden into battle. He might have to be marched 200 miles. You march to the battle. When you get there, you got to be ready. So your horse can't be tired, and he can't be exhausted, can't be sore. Got to be prepared to fight when we get to the battle. So the cavalry did a good job of learning how to preserve their horses and how to condition them for these types of things. So I've been a student of that for many years, and a lot of what I'm going to share with you goes back to traditional cavalry horsemanship. A lot of the grandmasters that in Europe that were instructors for the cavalry, how they approach things. A lot of your dressage, most of what we do with horses, all go back to that traditional cavalry style horsemanship. So, you know, I want you to approach this in a way that you have to prepare yourself to learn and open your heart and open your mind. Approach this as a student. These horses will teach you if you let them. You know, when the boys come here to work and the men come here to work, I expect certain standards out of them. I'm their leader. So the people that work here, they know what I expect. I want you to work on time. I want you to be efficient in your work. These young men that come to work, I want them to have their lunch packed. I want them to have a water jug. I want them to have a pocket knife in their pocket. I want them to wear their work clothes. I don't want them to have their hat on backwards. We're going to be professionals, and I'm going to provide that leadership for them. Well, that's the same way with your horse. When I come to the barn to ride this horse, I have certain expectations of him. And there are certain behaviors that I'm not going to tolerate. If Petey wants to nibble at me, I'm going to push him away. Stand still, Petey. We're not going to have that. Okay? So there's a certain etiquette and a certain expectation he's going to have of me. Where if I allow him to be unruly and I allow him to have substandard behavior, well, that just tells him it's okay. So years ago, I used to have a supervisor at work for me that used to say, if you walk by somebody doing their work improperly and you don't say something, well, you just said it was okay. And that, you know what? You can apply that to life, and you can apply that to a lot of things, where if there are things that your horse is doing that you're tolerating, you just said it's okay. So sometimes you just have to stop and say, no, this is not what we're going to do. And that's why you need to provide leadership to your horse. So, you know, I want you to be thinking like that as we move along, because that's how we do things here, and it's worked very well for us, that thought process. And I think that if you open your mind to this type of thinking, that you'll succeed and do well. So in our next video, we're going to talk about haltering our horse, and we're going to go through a whole list of things today of different techniques, but the next video is going to be on how to halter your horse. Thank you.